Hey guys, welcome to a brand new series of Siege Basics. I've wanted to do this series for a while now and I'm finally getting to it. So we're going to start the series off with just 5 tips that will help you win more games in Rainbow Six Siege. So we'll start off with the 5 tips and we'll go over each one in more detail afterwards. Number 1, use all intel. Number 2, communicate with your team. Number 3, exhaust all utility. Number 4, practice aim and movement with Terrorist Hunt. And number 5, invest time into the game. Now, some of these are common sense. There are important things that need to be covered. Too many times you have people without mics, you have people who don't watch drones or cameras, you have people who don't use utility and gadgets, you have people who just aren't mechanically sound on your team. So I'll go over each of these points and discuss how these things can help you win more games. Alright, so for point number 1, you've got intel. This includes all drones, cameras, gadgets that give you information. So in terms of gadgets, there are so many defenders that can give you information. And this is why Siege tends to be defender-sided. You've got Valkyrie, you've got Echo, Mozzie, Maestro. They all have access to at least 2 devices that can give them information. You have Legion's Mines, LS Grismots, you have Frost Mats, you have Capcat Traps. All of these can be used to gather sound and information on where the attackers are coming from. And lastly, you have defenders who have access to bulletproof cameras. With defenders having so much access to different types of information, that makes drones on attack so much more valuable. Each player starts with 2 drones, one in their pocket and one which is used during prep phase, including Twitch. It's important to find where the objective is, but as soon as one teammate does that, you need to hide your drone in a place where you plan on entering, or where there's a common spawn peak. Driving your drone into sight only to have it shot is wasting your chance to locate defenders and makes clearing roamers or identifying the anchors later on much more difficult. Going into attack blindly almost always results in a lost round. With the addition of Iana, attackers have gained another infinite drone as long as Iana stays alive and can use her Gemini replicator to find defenders. Attackers will only have a maximum of 10 drones to gather intel, while defenders will almost always have more than 10 ways to get intel from their gadgets and from default cameras. Another important thing to note is if you're dead, you should not be spectating teammates. Unless all the intel is destroyed or the information is useless, like somebody leaving a drone in spawn, this will lead you to being able to call out locations of enemies to help your teammates who are still standing. And it also prevents you from having arguments with your teammates because you won't be backseat gaming, you won't be stressing your teammate out, and you won't have arguments of, why didn't you do this? Or how could you miss that shot? This is going to lead to the next point of communicating with your team. Communication is key. In R6, you have to be able to communicate to your team to best set up for the opponent. A lot of this communication will have to come from your game sense and your map knowledge. Luckily for the beginners, in the bottom part of the screen on your heads-up display, near the compass, you can see the location of the room that you're standing in. So if you're new, I would recommend taking a look at those locations that you're standing in, being able to identify different parts of the maps. That's going to be huge in improving your level of play and winning more games. Now, some of the worst callouts that you can use are on my X or over there. Those are just not good ways to communicate with your team. This forces your team to look around the map, identify where you died, and if the enemy is quick, they won't find out where you died in time. It's important to be precise, quick, and calm with your calls. Although sometimes it is okay to be urgent. If there is something that is happening very quickly, you can be urgent with your calls and then your teammates will understand where they're being pushed from. However, if you say there is a Caveira roaming on the first floor of Cafe, you can say, hey, there's a Cav roaming in Bakery downstairs. This lets your teammates know that there's a Cav on the board and that she was last seen in the bakery. Your teammates can then process this information, and when they start pushing from either the second floor or top floor, they know that a Cav will likely be flanking at some point so they can watch their flanks. Also, if you're playing somewhat competitively in ranked or if you have a comp game, I recommend keeping the chatter strictly limited between the rounds. Sound is king in Siege. If you're talking about what you ate for lunch while your teammate is trying to listen for a crouch-walking Ash, your teammate is going to get gunned because they can't hear the footsteps while you're talking about your Cool Ranch Doritos. In addition to this, try not to rage when you die. Just give the call out where you died and mute your mic to complain. No one wants to hear it. Complaining over the mic lessens your chance of winning. I understand it's natural to be upset, but in a game like Siege, you have to control yourself just a little bit. And in some situations, it's important to know where your teammates are. You can't constantly be looking at the map, you might have to hold an angle, so it's okay to talk to your teammates and ask where they are. If you're in a 2v5 situation, you definitely need to communicate with your teammate, find out where they're playing, you need to hold a different angle, you need to cover something else. So it's important to talk with your team, get good positioning, good communication. Any 2vx situation should be winnable if you're communicating with your team. Alright, next one is a simple tip. It's exhausting utility. Too many times there are people dying with their utility in their pockets. Whether it's a spawn peak or people just not using it, it just becomes wasted. For attackers, they need to use their gadgets. So for example, Zophia's stuns and breaches. People using grenades, so their frag grenades, stuns, smokes. And for defenders, the most important utility are reinforcements. There are people who don't reinforce for some reason, however, reinforcements are going to stall the enemy from getting into the objective at a quicker rate. In addition to reinforcements, defenders should stay alive as long as possible, so they can use their gadgets. Smoke, Legion, Wamai, just examples of people who can use their utility throughout the round. Siege is a war of attrition. You really need to use up as much utility as possible in order to win a round. Alright, tip number 4 is practicing your aim and movement. Personally, I do a few warm-up games each day on training grounds, but I choose to play only on the ranked playlist. I think this is helpful for beginners as it forces them to dry run the ranked maps, thus learning the maps as they clear terrorists from the building. It also helps build your muscle memory and confidence. You'll know what corners to check, you'll know how to peek certain rooms just by clearing out these terrorists. It's just my opinion that it can help. The Siege community itself, they're split on whether or not terrorist hunt is actually going to help you improve. And another thing that I see commonly are people changing their sensitivities, whether it's every day or every month. I wouldn't recommend doing that personally because I think Siege is a game of muscle memory. And if you're changing your sensitivity more often, you're not going to develop that muscle memory that you need to know the maps inside and out. Find something that you're comfortable with, stick with it, your aim will improve with the more time that you play, and that's going to move on to our last point, which is investing time into the game. If you're a copper, you're not going to be reaching diamond overnight. This is a realization that you need to be making now. It's going to be a gradual process. If you enjoy playing the game, don't give up. It's going to be frustrating, but things will change with the more time that you put in. Siege is an immensely complicated game, and it has a constantly evolving meta. Once you start learning the maps, you'll start to improve. The only true way to become a better player in this game is to invest your time and consistently work to get better. Find a stack of friends that wants to play, keep playing ranked with them. Even if you're copper, bronze, silver, whatever rank you are. Things will improve the more that you play together and work together. You'll improve faster with a team rather than running solo queue, and make sure that you're watching kill cams to see how you died. Maybe it was a cool angle or unique spot, something that you'll learn just by watching the kill cams. Even myself, I learn things every day that I play. It's a constant grind to improve in this game, and you just have to accept that. I hope these tips were helpful, and I hope that we meet sometime in the future. Feel free to join my Discord, check out my Twitch, or follow me on Twitter. All the links are below in the description, and I'll see you in the next video. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you leave a comment, you like, and subscribe. I'll see you all later.